Today is October 31st, Halloween's Day of 2025, and traditionally it's a day where people hang out in the dark of the night, where children go trick-or-treating and hang out with friends and get candies, all these sort of good beneficial stuff for them, or at least that's what they think. So last century, there was this meeting between these evil and powerful people where they conspire to, make the next generation really weak and docile. Part of the plan is to introduce a lot of sweets to children when they are really young, and also the toothpaste problem where they put fluoride into the ingredients in order to disrupt the growth of the brain, which fluoride in its history has a lot of controversy because it was first used as rat poison and was very effective. It killed a lot of rats when it was first used as a rat repellent in the 1900s, but the ingenious business people who work for the elites, if you may, have maybe ill intentions and developed it into the fluoride toothpaste. So traditionally, children go trick or treating, but there may be an underpinning behind this problem of getting sweets. It's a satanic inversion. So this day, it's actually a known fact that lots of satanic oriented people, they do sacrifices around this time. And if you check out these unknowables, like the Bohemian Grove, where they sacrifice or make mock sacrifices to Moloch with children. If you look into these things, they are actually real. And so I'm going to delve into, in this day, how we're supposed to protect ourselves, our personal field, our vibes, how to increase the frequency in order to have some sort of self-protection mechanism. It's important to understand the underlying energetics of these phenomenons. And personally, I have experienced similar problems around this time. And I've developed a system to work against these bad hidden intentions, which, as I have spoken previously, they form an energetic archetypal clutter around your personal field. And through this, in dreams, you can become aware of it and have precognition, in fact. But the main thing is the properties of thought forms or egregores. So I did some research into this area, and this area is called theosophy. Most people, they think theosophy is one of those wishy-washy type new age thing. But in fact, it is more grounded in science, and unfortunately it developed into a topic where it is unrelatable to most people in the scientific academic culture. But the theme is magic is developed through awareness and intention. And so everyone have thoughts, and thoughts is like this frequency that is broadcasted from this energetic space called ether. And thought is a very complex subject. You can create thought forms on your own by melding with your own energy field. You can generate thought forms. And there are two properties of thought forms. The first one is the Philip experiment. And so Philip experiment is something where an experiment happened and there were scientists trying to know the properties of thoughts. And through this experiment, they have concluded that they can produce thought forms and they are resistant to changes. And by creating a narrative around Philip, an archetypal figure that is falsely concocted, the entity actually came into reality as in it pervaded the space around them, and it was no longer illusion. It actually became a poltergeist and started knocking and tapping on all sorts of objects and furniture around them while they were doing the study. And so this is the property of producing thought forms which can become real. The other property is from my own experience where I had what Carl Jung termed the dark anima. And I had all these subtle intuitions which are very vague, and it was like just a form of a cloud where I had in my active imagination. And so in my active imagination, I have intended for them to come together to form a semblance of an archetype of some sort. And through this intention, it formed into the dark anima, and it can converse audibly with me during sessions of active imagination and sometimes intense concentration, but sometimes during my subconscious states. And so through this experience, I've concluded that thought forms can be produced and can be molded into an archetype, and this archetype is resistant to change. And through hidden intention, it can be empowered and have its unique identity and coalesce into a bigger entity, into a one form called the dark anima. Well, through this experience of myself, my own dark anima, I have a lot of bad and negative influences happening to me. And so I want to talk about how to prevent any of these negative influences. The entire concept of Qigong is to clear the karmic knots and develop enlightenment capabilities. And so I did do some Qigong breathing and its mechanisms. I can tell you that it actually works because on a fascia level, the body actually clears these knots and you become more clear in the mind. And also you have more efficient body healing, which I experience through spasms. So incredibly, I do dantian breathing into my lower dantian awareness. I do reverse abdominal breathing. And I had 2 weeks of intense spasms, and immediately afterwards, I had a mental clearing, and my concentration and focus during the day became more elevated and enhanced. Previously, I was on big pharma prescriptions, or these legalized drugs, if you may. It caused me a lot of dimming of my concentration during my studies in university. I can't really concentrate for 30 minutes or even 20 minutes, I suppose. But after doing these exercises with Qigong, I can sustain concentration for up to 2 hours. But then the drawback is that you have to change your habits, and well, sleep is also required for these rapid changes in energetic fluctuations. So I sleep for a lot, I guess, to compensate for that. But nonetheless, I just want to share like this method where you can check it out on Damo Mitchell's YouTube channel. It goes into the depths of this practice, and it's called Inner Alchemy. It's essentially an entire system developed by the Eastern mysticism, the Eastern mystics, through centuries of, or even millennia of cultivation. It started with Lao Tzu and the Tao Te Ching, which is inner alchemy, which, well, people say it's not inner alchemy, it's a philosophy text, but it's actually inner alchemy. And it's full of paradoxes, and it helps people traverse through the really intricacies of energy work. And in the end, the best part is that you can obtain enlightenment. So back to how to combat the negative vibes that are created by these sacrificial elements for today. I can tell you that through my experience of these grounded exercises of breathing and awareness into the inner abdominal region, the best thing to do is to not pay attention to these thought forms. What I mean by that is to not encourage yourself to be obsessed in any form to any negative thought loops. Might be anything. For example, you might have felt guilty in the past when you were in a swim meet, or perhaps even a public speaking event where you felt a lot of fear, and as a result of the fear, you couldn't control your impulses during speech. And the people who are the audiences, they might have projected their insecurities onto you, and you have this feeling of guilt, and you couldn't articulate yourself too well, and so you felt a lot of guilt, and the result is that you were discombobulated, and this energy dynamics really penetrated into your personal awareness, and you felt guilt ever since. That's been intensified by the outcome of not performing to your standards. So this forms a complex, an autonomous complex, and it may be very intricate and subtle. You may not even be aware of yourself. But the whole idea is to not obsess over these things. Any thoughts that are revolving around these negativities, you can just not pay attention to them. And by that, what I mean is to detach. And so for me, I just feel in my body wherever there's like a discomfort in the physical sense, I'd reach out with my hand and touch it. For example, my heart. I'd reach out and touch it and not care about any thoughts, just feel on a physical level what it actually means, and to internalize it, to let the energy dissipate and let my own body take a rewiring of the energy that is affecting it. And this actually works, and I felt like, as I have previously mentioned, increase in my concentration and enhancement of my mental capabilities. And so I just want to talk about how to combat these negative vibes that you might have today, whether they exist or not. Like I said, it's more like my own personal sensitivities, and I'm hoping that I may relate this to someone else who has similar experiences. But then again, it's about the personal experiences, and most people, they go about their day-to-day lives living unempathetically within their own sphere of influence. They just care about themselves, and they don't know like the interpersonal intricacies that are involved. If you personally make sacrifices for someone, your energy field may be compromised, and there's entire studies. It's just not like myself just making things up about this, but it's actually real and existing. And if you don't believe me, then you can check out Carl Jung's studies on these things, these subjects. And the science behind it is, like I said, the psyche, which is invisible to the human eye, but it exists at a frequency level. But nonetheless, it exists, and I just want to share like my methods in combating these invisible threads of awareness that may have lingering effects to your consciousness for today, because it's Halloween and it's a holiday where these elites do sacrifices. Well, it's really unfortunate, but that's the case. And so, yeah,